I don't know any situation where you're working in a commercial kitchen where after your shift you feel like you've been energized and that you've had your spirit filled. But that's what nature does, right? That's what being outdoors does. That's why people go camping. That's why people go fishing. Working in the restaurant, while exhilarating, fun, and challenging, is not nourishing and life-giving like it is when I'm outside cooking with everybody around the fire.
Okay, it's a salad for 1 or 2 people. All right.
Make it adventurous.
We need that soba, chef. Yep. Coming right up. Pickles Royale. It's got jellyfish in it this time. All right. Lacto-fermented cabbage and natto. Please take it away. This is as traditional as Japanese meal can possibly get. And then we change it up with some grasshoppers on the adventures. Black soldier flies grown in the garage on leftovers. Hey guys, movable feasts! Movable feasts!
My mom started Mia's in New Haven in 1982. I'd been at Mia's almost 30 years. I've never had another full-time job in my life. I used to live in the basement of Mia's for years as I worked on the idea of plant-based sushi, sustainable seafood sushi, invasive species sushi, all ideas that eventually made us recognized by the White House as a champion of change in 2016.
The bottom line is that I really, really love what I do at the restaurant. I love the fact that I get to nourish people in a way that nourishes the environment as well.
Got an order just came in, 2 movable feasts, dine in.
Okay.
The irony is that I have not nourished myself.
We also lost an Uber Eats ticket. The driver's here.
Yep.
The restaurant business and myself in the business has been a struggle.
You know, while I'm teaching nutrition to pre-diabetics, I'm not necessarily eating in the healthiest way. You know, while I'm teaching health, I'm smoking cigarettes, you know, or I'm drinking alcohol, like way too much. So like I'm preaching one thing, but I don't have my shit together on it.
2 soba. Hey guys, the Tokyo Fro, it was burnt. Please check to make sure that it's not. All right, thank you. Another Tokyo Fro, please.
One of the reasons why I decided to close Mia's was because I work in the space of sustainability, and my life had become completely unsustainable over the last bunch of years. The changes that I'm making today is just an effort to transform so that I can live and work and feed people in the way that I believe, to include nourishing myself as well.
But I just knew that I couldn't do it if I'm running a popular little restaurant in town. So that's why, moving forward, we're cooking in a very, very different way.
Today, the way I eat, and I think a lot of people eat, we're in a hurry. We don't really think about transferring love through the food that we eat in a hurry. And that's what my goal is for the work that I'm doing here at the farm, which is a extension of the work that we started at Mia's, to create a small space where we can spend time with each other and listen to each other and really work on making good food together When we were growing up, my mom raised us with a plant-based diet and seafood. We barely had any meat at all. And when we were wrestlers, she used to say, you know, you guys are so fast, and the reason why you're so fast is because you eat like deer, so you can explode and leap like deer. And I find when I eat this way, and there are small stretches when I do and have that kind of discipline and then fall off course, feel that my body and my mind immediately change. And I'm much more aware and quicker in every single way. Sometimes when things are going well, it's actually sort of a trap because we're so afraid of doing anything different than what seems to be working. But what's working is not necessarily the best things for our lives. In the last bunch of decades, it's been way too easy for me because the food just comes to me. Everything is already filleted and frozen and ready to go. We're not connected to the entire process of fishing. So we don't appreciate the food that we're eating, appreciate it as a living organism, a creature that wanted to live and that's sustaining you. I think our urge is to be as practical as possible, to do things in a way that's as convenient as possible. It's definitely a pain in the ass to eat outside, flies all over, but if we are to work and live in a way that's better than what we're used to, it's often not convenient at all. I think the propensity, especially here in America, is to go bigger with everything that we do.
I've gotten to collaborate with multi-billion-dollar companies. Just so many offers to take me away from Mia's. But in the end, I chose not to go that direction.
I want to commit myself to live and work in a way that is not about bigger. It's not about louder. It's not about being more popular, having more followers.
So I decided to stay and rather than expand, dig deeper.
So to be here right now, surrounded by the sound of animals and the wind and the rustling of leaves, this is an important ritual for me, just to take a break, slow it down, and make myself a really good meal. The salad is a combination of plants that are considered too old to eat, but I think they're really delicious, because they're stronger flavored, and you just use less of them, along with wild plants that are also really powerfully flavored. As much as this meal tips its hat to the way I grew up eating, it's also different. It's not just white rice, for example. It's important that it's a combination of rice and beans and wild mushrooms. And when you combine beans and rice, you get all the amino acids to be a complete protein, so you don't need to be eating animals at all, actually, for protein. I even put maple leaves that I found on the ground as well. The brown and yellow and red and orange leaves, you're tasting autumn. And the soup in front of me is made in a nabe, which is very traditional Japanese as well. But it's also a bit different than the way I grew up eating it. You know, nabe isn't eaten with Szechuan peppers. That's not a Japanese thing. But I'm Chinese and Japanese, so to kind of mix it together reaches out to another part of my history. I think about being a young kid in Japan, in the countryside, living with my mother, and having her make little fish for me like this. And she used to go to the fishmonger and buy one little fish, no bigger than this tiny little fish over here. And the fishmonger would laugh and say, "Why would you buy such a little fish?" And my mother would say, "Well, it's for my baby son." And it was very important to her to be able to feed me fish every day. And today, we caught tiny little fish that people would just throw back, but it's so delicious, and it's the healthiest food that you can possibly eat. This fish, the sunfish, is abundant. It's on the bottom of the food chain, so they're low in contaminants and high in nutrients. So this is as good a seafood as you can possibly get, yet most people don't eat it. Every dish that we made over here today will feed every cell in my body and pleases me, in that it reminds me of another time when every moment was infused with love. Sushi chefs today wouldn't recognize this as sushi, nor would people of the past necessarily. This is really me paying homage to innovation and the importance of tradition as well. And it's really appropriate for today. This time is a time whose zeitgeist is all about questioning the way we used to do things, questioning the way we think and exist. So a lot of people might eat this and say, "This is shit." But really, I tell you that this is a new road that represents looking at things in a different way and nourishing yourself in a different way that is all-inclusive. Cheers, my friends.